This page is the front cover of Total N64 magazine, featuring Rayman 2 as the exclusive playtest, promising armless fun. Also hyped are first shots of Zelda 2, scoop on Jet Force Gemini, and a look at Quake 2 and Ridge Racer 64. There's also a competition to win pot noodles for a year. The Game Boy Color gets a shout out too, with 10 pages dedicated to it, plus there's a free Pokemon book for every reader. The next page shows a stylized image of planet Earth with Europe and North Africa in view. Text reads, "The playing field." The page background has a grid-like pattern, and the overall impression is that this is an introductory page. Textra. The next page is a full-page advert for the Dreamcast website, www.dreamcasteurope.com. It features a blue Dreamcast logo in the bottom right corner. This page is a full-page advert for Gameplay, a mail-order supplier of computer games. They boast the lowest prices on 64 consoles and offer a money-back guarantee. The advert lists numerous N64 games with their prices, plus accessories and even second-hand games. There's also a cut-out order form and a helpline number. The next page is the editorial section of Total N64. It's an editor's note from Simon Phillips, who humorously laments reaching the ripe old age of 25. He talks about how N64 gaming was saved by games like Shadow Man, and teases upcoming titles like the sequel to Zelda, Ridge Racer 64, Rayman 2, and a Turok 2 sequel. He thanks John, Lee, and Coxey for their hard work on the redesign, and welcomes Neil Davey to the team. He also makes a humorous reference about looking for sticker number 71 from the Star Wars Episode 1 sticker book. A staff list is present, including Chris Mark as managing editor, Simon Phillips as editor, John Austin as reviews editor, and a bunch of other writers and production staff. This page is the cover of Total N64, issue 31, from September 1999. Rayman 2 takes center stage, touted as the next-gen console war leader, featured on the cover. There are also teases for Zelda, Gaiden, Quake 2, and Ridge Racer 64. A Boyzone section dedicated to Game Boy Color also features, promising reviews and tips. The contents page lists previews for Ridge Racer 64, Zelda, Turok 3, and a stack of other games. The review section includes Shadow Man, WWF Attitude, and even Superman 64. Finally, regulars lists include the usual suspects like the Tips Index, Total Recall, and Boyzone, with page numbers for easy navigation. Simon Phillips' editorial, from the previous page about Shadowman saving N64 gaming, is followed up with its review inside. This page is the contents page for the magazine. It highlights upcoming coverage of Zelda 2, Jet Force Gemini, and Donkey Kong 64 under the Insight section. Shadow Man, pegged as the ultimate antithesis of Ubisoft's Rayman, is featured, alongside WWF Attitude, described as the long-awaited sequel to WWF Warzone. A Busted section teases a Quake 2 guide. Other games mentioned include World War III and Talking Babies, where they may be asking, "Where's Summer Balls?" which is a reference to Mario. Finally, contact information for Rapide Publishing is provided, along with the issue number and the Total N64 logo. The next page is a promotional page championing Rayman 2, with the headline, "A Star Mario and Banjo Lookout." It boldly proclaims Rayman as a serious challenger to the old guard of Mario, Sonic, and their chums. Ubisoft's Rayman 2 is touted with high expectations. The page features colorful star graphics, drawings, and a picture of Rayman in-game. This page is a feature on Rayman 2, The Great Escape, declaring Rayman is born a new face in town. The writer notes that the game defied expectations, and is a sublime experience filled with humor, insane characters, gorgeous worlds and innovation, comparing it favorably to Nintendo's offerings and Rare's games. The storyline involves cyborg pirate types invading Rayman's world and kidnapping the inhabitants, with Rayman tasked with finding magical masks. The page also features some in-game screenshots, and a brief description of Rayman's odd character design, which includes his orange mutant marrow nose and floating hands. The next page continues the Rayman love-in, focusing on Rayman Ray Tube, a planned TV show starring the limbless Wonder. 13 episodes were in production, aiming for a 2000 release, using entirely 3D computer graphics, following Rayman and his buddies in the city of Aeropolis. The show had funding from the Quebec government, so it was sure to be something special. The article also praises Rayman 2, declaring it sets new graphical standards for the Nintendo 64, comparing it with Shadow Man. It complements the fluid animation, cartoon-like style, and Rayman's world design as odd, original, and AWE inspiring. If Rare outdid this with Donkey Kong 64, the reviewer would eat their pants. Rayman's controls were described as wonderful, drawing you in immediately, with easily accessed abilities, and a camera that avoids common 3D game pitfalls. It was a fun experience, with plenty of different things to do. This page is a feature on Rayman 2, The Great Escape for the Nintendo 64, focusing on the game's worldly wonders and the irate pirates. The reviewer describes the levels as huge and varied, with over 30 rollercoaster action-packed thrills, complementing the graphics and overall design. Lava levels are a staple, and ancient architecture fills many levels, requiring caution due to spirits of the dead. Rayman must avoid the piranhas in the swamplands. The pirates who kidnapped Rayman's buddies are nasty, and Rayman will have to go to Pirate Central. The next page dives into Rayman 2, The Great Escape, branding it as Action Rayman. It highlights Rayman's versatile moveset, comparing him to Ricky Martin, suggesting he's got the moves. Rayman can run, jump, climb, splay himself between parallel walls, lift objects, swing, water ski, slide, use his ears as a helicopter, and detach his flying fists. The page also touches on the game's 2D roots, and how Rayman revitalized the 2D platforming genre on the PlayStation. It acknowledges that while Rayman may not have broken sales records like Donkey Kong Country, it's still a cult classic with legendary gameplay. This page is titled Bizarre Buddies, and focuses on some of the stranger characters in Rayman's world, noting that some need your help, while others are invaluable to your quest. It introduces Kaylee, describing her as fiery, clever, quick, and agile, and says Rayman has a soft spot for her. The page also introduces the small beings, creatures often found in groups arguing over who's king, and Glowbox, a fat frog-like creature captured by pirates, and Rayman promises to save him for his kids. There's a description of some of the various gameplay scenarios found between platform levels, including water skiing, flying a craft through a space station, surfing down rivers of lava, and riding a roller coaster. It also mentions racing through a giant spider's web, sliding down an icy chute, and a scramble to the top of a sinking tower. The page concludes by stating that Rayman is here to stay, and Ubisoft has elevated themselves as game developers. It suggests that Rayman 2, The Great Escape is a serious contender for the best game of 1999, especially with competition from Shadowman and Rare's titles. The next page delves into the world of Nintendo with Insight, providing everything you need to know about Nintendo. It's a first look at Ridge Racer 64, published by Nintendo/The, and developed by NST, proclaiming peak performance. The reviewer notes that despite its absence at E3, Ridge Racer 64 is visually superior to its PlayStation counterparts. However, the N64 version resembles earlier incarnations, potentially frustrating those hoping for a Ridge Racer 4 experience. It supports 4-player racing and includes tracks from the series, offering a comprehensive experience. A small image of Reiko Nagase is included on the page. The reviewer notes that footage of the game shows it maintains a high update rate. This page features a look at upcoming titles, starting with Dino Attacks, covering Turok Rage Wars, and the forthcoming Turok 3. The reviewer hopes the sequel delivers more weapons, less fog, and an improved 4-player mode. Then there's Cat Attack, which covers the announcement of interactive Tom and Jerry titles for the N64. The reviewer expresses a desire for a fun Tom and Jerry game, rather than strictly educational titles. The main focus shifts to the Gaiden of Eden, Zelda Gaiden, billed as a quasi-follow UP to Ocarina of Time. Details are scarce, but the game promises new areas and gameplay enhancements. Screenshots show Link on Epona, battling enemies, and exploring new environments. The release date is TBA 2000. There are also release date details for another racing game with a date of December 1999. This page features previews of upcoming N64 games. First up is Monster Truck Madness 64, a monster truck racer with multiplayer options like football and ice hockey, with a confirmed release date of September 1999. Next is Paperboy 64, where you deliver newspapers while avoiding wild bears and raccoons. Paperboy 64 throws more perils and dangers your way. What paper round do you know that involves avoiding wild bears and rabid raccoons? Woo! The release date is TBA. The magazine asks whether updating classic arcade games is a good idea. The next page is all about Hybrid Heaven, a Konami game getting an overhaul. The reviewer notes it's been tweaked and improved since issue 28. Looks like we can expect a full preview next month, with release dates slated for October 1999. There's also a little blurb about Asteroid 64 from Crave Entertainment, and a quick mention of Battlezone, coming to the N64. This page delves into Roadster's Trophy from Titus, a promising racing game for the N64. The reviewer is excited about the prospect of the game outperforming Midway's Racer, especially given Titus' work on World Driver Championship. There's mention of driving over 30 convertible vehicles across 10 different tracks with varying weather conditions. The tracks and cars are looking impressive, and there isn't a hint of Mr. Pop-Up. The reviewer hopes Titus can maintain the speedy frame rate and improve the AI for a top-notch racing experience. There are screenshots from the game, including a parts shop menu. Oh, and some Gex. The Gecko promo material is at the top. Gear. The next page highlights LEGO Racers, with a review titled, Bricking It. Apparently the release date has been pushed to October 16, 1999. The game lets you create your driver and car, or choose a pre-made setup and race across 12 courses, based on pirate, space, castle and adventurous themes. The reviewer expresses concern about the lack of tracks, but is confident in the game's options and configurability. There's also a mention of Infogrames bringing worms to the N64, where players control weaponized worms. This page is a competition to win 15 copies of Vigilante 8, the Stoning Cars N-Guns thriller that Total N64 reviewed in issue 27, giving it a silver award. To enter, readers must answer a James Bond trivia question. Which of the following was not a heavily armored car in a James Bond movie? The choices are BMW, Aston Martin, and Robin Reliant. An image of the game is shown on a school bus with a machine gun and missiles on top, with a copy of the game cover. The next page features a look at upcoming games. First up is Jet Force Gemini from Rare, now featuring more mature characters, huge weapons and globs of green blood in a game that looks like a fireworks accident in a paint factory. Lupus the dog, however, remains largely unchanged. Next, it's Driver in the Pit's World Driver Championship from Midway, delayed to tweak the handling, which is considered slightly unfriendly. They're worried about tampering with what they considered a perfect driving game. The page also mentions that Infogrames has cancelled the development of one of their N64 trio of Looney Tunes games, Space Race, fearful of entering an overcrowded market. Duck Dodgers and Taz Express titles are still on target. This page kicks off with a preview of Donkey Kong 64, proclaiming it very ape, and highlighting the need for the expansion pack to even run the game. Nintendo and Rare are confident in its November 1999 release, positioning it as a key piece of their Christmas lineup. Then, it launches into a competition to win Carmageddon 64 fashion accessories from Psy, including a bag, t-shirt, and jacket, adorned with the Carmageddon logo. To enter, readers need to answer the question, if 3 zombies share a human brain out equally, how much would each zombie receive? It's a rather brainy question, innit? This page is a full-page advert for Michael Owen's World League Soccer 2000 on the Nintendo 64. It highlights the game's unsurpassed realism and exceptional graphics, boasting motion capture animation featuring Michael Owen and Le Ferdinand, plus commentary from Peter Brackley. The next page is a competition giveaway for a year's supply of pot noodles. In partnership with Total N64, you could win noodles and a creepy spider puppet to help with those gaming cramps. To enter, send in a photo of yourself eating pot noodle, and the funniest photo wins. This page is a full-page advert for Interactive Telecom's cheat service. Call the Cheatmaster for tips on N64, PSX, Dreamcast, PC, and Game Boy games. There's also a competition to win consoles and games by playing Hunt the Prize Mistress. The next page has a chart attack section, giving a rundown of the top N64 games. The chart comment notes the continued success of Star Wars titles, alongside F1 World Grand Prix 2 and Quake 2. Micro Machines and Mario Party are highlighted as ideal rental choices. There's anticipation for the finished version of Rayman 2. The page then presents 4 charts: Blockbuster Top 10 chart, Department Top 10, Total N64 Most Wanted, and Retro chart 1 year ago. Star Wars Racer leads the Blockbuster chart. The Total N64 Most Played chart is also present, with Shadow Man topping the list. This page is the release dates page brought to you by Department 1, a handy guide to upcoming N64 game releases. It covers games slated for August, September, and a vague October and beyond. Some of the titles listed include 4x4 Mud Monsters, Carmageddon 64, Command & Conquer, Duke Nukem, Zero Hour, Shadow Man, Army Men, Sarge's Heroes, Biohazard 2, Daikatana, Donkey Kong 64, Perfect Dark, and Zelda, Gaiden. Below the release dates is a form to fill out for the Have Your Say and Win a Game competition, where readers can list their 5 most played and most wanted games for a chance to win. The page includes address details for sending in entries. The next page kicks off the critical mass reviews section with a look at Shadow Man. It features a striking image of the main character, Mike Leroy, and the game's overall score is a 30. The review promises invaluable opinions, building on the exclusive Shadow Man feature from the previous issue, seeing if the game lives up to the hype. The reviewer offers helpful advisory prose, inviting readers to enter the shadows with TN64. The page also features screenshots from the game. This page dives headfirst into the review section with a splash of attitude and a whole lot of N64 goodness. First up is WWF Attitude with a score of 34. The reviewer sarcastically mentions that Acclaim keeps churning out wrestling games faster than they can buy body oil, suggesting the game is just another addition to the wrestling game pile. Next, Command & Conquer scores a solid 44, with the reviewer claiming that C64 is the best console version ever, and daring you to disagree. Tonic Trouble scores 38, described as a legless and armless platformer from Ubisoft. The page also lists a few other titles with their respective scores: Pokémon Snap, 40, Mario Golf, 42, The New Tetris, 46, Rugrats, Scavenger Hunt, 48, Superman, 50, and in Fisherman Bass Hunter 64, 52. The scores section gives a breakdown of what the scores actually mean. 90,100% is hotter than Star Wars Episode 1 by 8,089% is not quite as good as a trusty blaster. 6,179% means Obi-Wan Kenobi would not train this. 4,160% is turn to the dark side, there is no hope. And 040% is simply you wouldn't wish this on Darth Maul. This page is a review of Shadow Man for the N64. The review dives into the dark and gritty world of this superhero, comparing him to the likes of Darkman and Spawn, setting it apart from the typical pajama-clad heroes of the time. The reviewer notes the somewhat unconventional control scheme of the game, stating Shadow Man's somewhat unconventional control takes some getting used to, but it soon feels like second nature. The next page continues the review of Shadow Man, highlighting the game's unique elements. It points out the Finper-style casebook that Shadow Man uses throughout the game, which contains vital information about the serial killers, the 5. The review also mentions the gruesome enemies and the structural blueprints of the asylum, which provide important structural information. There's a mention of Shadow Man having a cool selection of weaponry stuffed down his jeans, drawing a comparison to Turok. The review also shows in-game screenshots and enemy encounters, and includes some of the in-game dialogue. This page continues the review of Shadow Man, a game praised for its sinister voodoo theme and adult content. The reviewer, John, highlights the game's gritty approach, innovative gameplay, and the impressive Vista engine, which delivers stunning graphics. Shadow Man is described as a unique experience on the N64, and is compared favorably to Castlevania and Tomb Raider. The game is noted for its challenging nature and chilling atmosphere, earning it an impressive 93% score. The next page features more screenshots and descriptions of Shadow Man. It highlights elements like using an engineer's key to unlock doors, the concept of Lands of Gore, and how Shadow Man's power affects his appearance. The game also features Jack T. Ripper as a character with walrus-like mustaches. The cutscenes in the game are also praised for bringing a new level of graphical power and movie-style drama to the N64. This page is a review of WWF Attitude for the Nintendo 64, complete with a shot of Triple H. The review opens with some, shall we say, colorful language, before diving into the meat of the game. It highlights the roster of sweaty superstars, showcasing in-game screenshots of wrestlers like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mankind, The Rock, and The Undertaker. The review mentions that this is Acclaim's last WWF game, as THQ has now secured the license. Playability is discussed, noting that pulling off moves can be tricky but rewarding, and they've done their best to ensure the game has improved upon its predecessor. The next page shows off more of the WWF Attitude game for the N64, with tips on how to pull off special moves like Stone Cold Steve Austin's Stunner, Mankind's Mandible Claw, Triple H's pedigree, and Dillo Brown's sky-high powerbomb. It also features a section called the Gangly Gang, which hilariously shows how you can create the total N64 team in Creator Player mode using the male pasty skinny template, and they show Simon, Lee, John and Coxie as examples. This page is a review of WWF Attitude for the Nintendo 64. The reviewer, John, seems quite impressed, highlighting the improved graphics and smooth animation, claiming that every detail on the wrestlers is accounted for, including tattoos, scars, and missing teeth. The review touches on the variety of match types available, and the reviewer claims the game has lastability, comparing it to Optionsville, saying that there's no chance that you'll be getting bored anytime soon. The reviewer also likes the sound compression techniques, the catchphrase Happy WWF soundbites, and the note-perfect renditions of the wrestlers' entrance themes. The gameplay is compared to Warzone, using a Street Fighter-style combo system. There's a claim of around 40 characters, hundreds of moves, and a creator-player feature. While the reviewer admits the game engine isn't quite as good as THQ's wrestling engine, he still thinks WWF Attitude is the greatest looking and sounding wrestling game on the N64, giving it a score of 91%. The next page continues the review of WWF Attitude, focusing on the wrestlers' entrance routines and calling them an impressive precursor to the matches. There are screenshots of the game, showing off wrestler entrances and in-game action, with the reviewer commenting on Allsnow's love of Head and D.L.O. Brown's cool intro. The game is also noted as a tribute to the late Owen Hart, who tragically died in May of that year. The review points out Kane's briefcase carrying habit and touches on the gameplay, highlighting moves like The Rock's People's Elbow, Undertaker's Tombstone, X-Pac's Bronco Buster, and Billy Gunn's famous haka. This page features a review of the game Tonic Trouble, describing it as a weird and wonderful platformer. The game's premise involves Ed, who resembles a purple chip, trying to save Earth from Gro the Viking, after Ed's discarded lager can give Gro evil powers. The review highlights the game's colorful characters, including flying mammoths, carnivorous carrots, and maniating mushrooms. Screenshots show in-game action and characters like Susie, the obligatory love interest, and XYZ, the leader of the resistance. The graphics and animation are praised, particularly the expressions on Ed's face. The reviewer also notes the game plays similarly to Starshot, but with variations in gameplay, such as skiing and gliding sections. The next page continues the Tonic Trouble review. It describes the premise, starting with Ed's spacecraft, the mothership Albatross, gliding through the galaxy. After Ed's cleaning makes him thirsty, he necks a can of lager and accidentally drops it out of the ship, with beer landing on Earth and mutating everything it consumes, including Grory the Viking. The reviewer highlights the twisted French minds behind the creatures and the irritating camera angles. Despite the camera issues, they praise the game as a perfect release to lay the groundwork for Rayman 2. The review also includes screenshots and gameplay tips, rating the game at 88%, noting top-notch platform action and loads of wonderful characters, but criticizing the camera angles. New. This page is a review of Pokémon Snap for the Nintendo 64. The reviewer seems skeptical of the concept, questioning the appeal of a Pokémon photography simulator, asking, "What is the world coming to?" They note that Nintendo often takes risks with new directions and niche markets, and compares it to games like Mario Golf and Mario Party. The page gives a brief overview of the game's premise, mentioning Dr. Oak as your guide on Monster Island, and showcasing screenshots of different environments like caverns, beaches, rivers, and volcanoes. The review also touches on the game's playability, stating it's easy to get into and plays like a dream. They describe Pokémon Snap as an on-the-rails shooter, but with a camera instead of weaponry. It notes that the game features a battery backup, Rumble Pack support, and is NTSC version with a price of approximately €50. This page is a continuation of the Pokémon Snap review, diving deeper into the gameplay and adding some humorous commentary. It highlights how you can use items like apple-shaped Pokémon food to trigger reactions from the Pokémon, such as making Pikachu do a backflip, or evolving Charmeleon into Charizard if you can knock him into the lava pit. The review showcases various Pokémon report cards, showing pictures of Charizard, Kakuna, Meowth, Electrode, and Magmar with their scores. The reviewer seems particularly amused by getting Pokémon to fight each other. The page concludes with a positive acid test summary, praising the gameplay and the coolness of Pokémon but noting the lack of multiplayer and the graphics not being the best. It scores the game an 86%. There are also some humorous screenshots scattered around the page with Pikachu looking rather menacing. This page is a review of Mario Golf for the Nintendo 64. The reviewer jokes about Mario taking a break from saving princesses to play golf, suggesting it's an odd but entertaining pastime for the plumber. It praises the game for its colorful graphics and enjoyable multiplayer, while also noting it is a pretty standard golf game despite the Mario theme. The review touches on the game's Japanese version being inaccessible due to language barriers, but acknowledges its recognition as a fun game. Screenshots of the game are shown, and Yoshi makes a cameo appearance. The playability section summarizes the game as great, especially in multiplayer mode, but still just another golf title. The next page is a continuation of the Mario Golf review. It highlights the game's character roster, which features familiar faces from the Mario universe such as Luigi, Peach, Plum and Yoshi. The review touches on the unique skills each character brings to the course. Screenshots showcase various aspects of the game, including putting, driving, and the bizarre ring shot mode, not to mention the oddness of Plum being on a golf course. The reviewer humorously points out some of the game's absurdities, such as Baby Mario's challenging 290-yard shot over a lake. The review concludes with a score of 81%, praising the multiplayer while warning against the yawnsome single-player tournament. The next page features a review of Command & Conquer 64. The reviewer poses the question, Sim City with real-time strategy combat and big guns, and goes on to say that Command & Conquer makes its 64-bit debut. The page mentions a single-player option called Spec Ops Missions, for veteran strategists. Screenshots depict in-game elements like civilian buildings and power plants. The reviewer notes the graphical overhaul of the game, praising the 3D landscapes and detailed military units. They also comment on the weapons effects and hires option using the expansion pack. You're able to choose to play as the good guys, GDI, or the baddies, NOD. The reviewer suggests finding a strategic base location with Tiberium, to then defend your base whilst building an army of tanks, helicopters and infantry. The accessibility of the game is praised. Wait! This page continues the review of Command & Conquer 64. The reviewer notes some interesting gameplay mechanics, such as changing the camera view if you're struggling to see the soldiers, building sandbags to create chains, and even building units inside the enemy base. The gameplay differences between the GDI and NOD are highlighted, with the GDI being the protectors of innocent people, and NOD indulging in ethnic cleansing, adding a worrying moral dilemma. The page also mentions a cutscene after each mission which is always the same, with Seth, a Brotherhood's leader who claims to bring peace to the world. Screenshots show gameplay elements like the power plant, repair bay, and the NOD buggy. The skirmishes are described as highly detailed, and often amusing and comical, with the reviewer advising that you should always protect your base, as rebuilding is expensive. The game receives an 89% score, and is dubbed the best real-time strategy game on the N64, loads of depth and rock hard, but no multiplayer mode, and that you may have seen it all before. The next page kicks off with a review of the new Tetris for the Nintendo 64. The reviewer starts with a humorous question. Have any of you heard of Tetris? Before diving in, they express disappointment with the opening sequence, expecting more energy and blocks crashing everywhere. On the graphics front, it's noted that the cutscenes are pushing the limits of the technology. The reviewer then reminisces about the original Tetris and its impact, mentioning the disputes between the USA and the USSR over its rights. They point out that while this version has the same colored blocks and pretty visuals, it's not drastically different from other Tetris iterations. The review closes with the remark that the graphics feature the usual array of multicolored blocks and detailed backgrounds, nothing really different from all the other Tetris games that have gone before. This page continues the review of the new Tetris on the N64. The reviewer feels the graphical enhancements don't redeem the game, but the 4-player mode is a highlight. They find the screen cramped in multiplayer, and while the game is decent, it's not a must-have. A tally screen shows post-game stats, and the verdict is in acid test, with a score of 77%. The reviewer notes fans will love it, especially for 4-player, but it is another iteration of something that has been done to death over the years. The next page is a review of Rugrats Scavenger Hunt for the N64. It's positioned as a Mario Party-style board game adventure. The reviewer sarcastically calls it a board game adventure, hinting at its unoriginality. The game involves the Rugrats characters getting sucked into a mystical board game, reminiscent of the movie Jumanji. The graphics are described as a bad selection of moving pictures, implying they're not impressive, and it's ultimately just a glorified Monopoly board. You can play as one of the children on 3 initial game boards, with the option of playing alone with 3 CPU characters, who may take longer turns than your dopey mate with the runny nose. This page features a review of Rugrats Scavenger Hunt. The reviewer sarcastically mentions using camera angles to frustrate opponents and jokes about endless cookie references. Gameplay involves playing as Rugrats characters in a zany, dinosaur-themed adventure. The game is filled with animated sketches, with the reviewer questioning why they didn't just buy a Rugrats video instead. The reviewer mentions it's suitable for fans of the cartoon, but a waste of money for older players who might prefer Resident Evil 64 or Perfect Dark. Angelica is said to be in her usual ebullient mood, while Grandpa's excitement is questionable. The game received a 59% score and is rated as a worthy title for younger N64 owners, while the reviewer personally dislikes it, stating, "I don't wear nappies. I don't like them. Goodbye." The next page features a scathing review of Superman 64. The reviewer questions if it's faster than a speeding bullet, quickly dismissing that idea, stating it's a horrid game. They mock the game's graphics, calling out the pixie boots on Superman and the horrendous fogging and jerky animation, saying, "The list is endless." The reviewer expresses bewilderment at the game's sales in the US, quipping that Americans can't actually read. They strongly advise readers to stay away. A section titled, "Where's My Sick Bag?" criticizes the game's intro, comparing it unfavorably to a C64 game from 1985. This page continues the roasting of Superman 64. It has a large image of Superman mid-flight. The reviewer sarcastically says that the summer flew by with the amazing multiplayer options, detailing that up to 4 players can stumble around in spaceships in racing and fighting modes. The article then dives into the game's many problems, arguing that there are no redeeming features whatsoever. The gameplay is shoddy, the graphics are terrible, and Superman's voice is repugnant. They state it would be more enjoyable to sunbathe in the shadow of a sweaty fat guy than play this game. The reviewer then notes it's delayed due to gameplay problems that haven't been addressed. There's a play as a car tip, instructing the reader to fly a car through rings around LexCorp. Also a level select cheat guide. The acid test gives it a 9% rating, highlighting that Superman is cool, but the game is total garbage. Screenshots illustrate the awful graphics and gameplay, and are paired with sarcastic captions. This page is a review of Infisherman Bass Hunter 64. The reviewer starts by questioning if fishing, a popular sport in Britain, can translate to a console game. The premise involves building a fisherman's career by participating in tournaments and earning points to buy better gear. The graphics are noted as scenic and authentic, and the game uses the rumble pack to simulate the feel of a fish on the line. The reviewer finds that while it has many options, angling is not a sport that can be simulated. Screenshots display the in-game action and interfaces, like lure selection and purchase screens. The reviewer also offers commentary on specific elements, like one crankbait apparently imitating minnows, frogs or crawfish. This page continues the review of Infisherman Bass Hunter 64, highlighting the game's mechanics and overall experience. It jokes that Jack Charlton has too much time on his hands since quitting soccer management. Screenshots illustrate gameplay elements, such as hooking a fish, controlling the boat, and using the fish finder to locate fish. There's even a leaderboard showcasing the top anglers in the game. The reviewer playfully notes, Fanny Bateman is slowly creeping up the leaderboard. The acid test provides a summary of the game's pros and cons, praising the atmospheric graphics and animation, while criticizing the slow pace of waiting for a fish to bite. Ultimately, the game receives a score of 65%. The next page is a full-page subscription advert for Total N64 magazine, offering 12 issues for £28, including delivery anywhere in the UK. It features visuals from a sci-fi themed game and contains a form to fill out for subscription details. The next page has the title Back Issues. It's showcasing a selection of past Total 64 magazines with their cover art. You can order them using the form below, each costing £4.95. Issues 13 through 28 are available for purchase. The covers feature games like Banjo-Kazooie, Mortal Kombat 4, Wipeout 64, and Turok 2. There's also Extreme Egg 2, Duke Nukem 0 Hour, Carmageddon, Castlevania, Donkey Kong 64, Resident Evil 2, and Perfect Dark, along with others. This page is a full-page advert for the TV show Weird Science on Trouble, advertising to create your own perfect woman, and featuring the tagline "The world's most perfect woman and her parents," which are the two nerdy boys. It mentions time slots for the show on Trouble. The next page is the contents page for Interaction magazine, serving the Nintendo Nation with style. It teases a Quake 2 complete guide, a burning issues letters section, readers art section, reader reviews on Duke Nukem 64 and ISS 64, a tips index for cheats and codes, high scores, and a total recall section for N64 games. The issue is number 31 and features Total N64. This page features the burning issue letters section, where readers can air their N64 related opinions. The address for sending letters is provided, as is an email address. Gamester LMP is offering prizes for the Star Opinion letter, which receives an N64 steering wheel, and 6 runners-up get a pad and a tremor pack, with 1 MB of memory. One reader, Neil Hodge from Aylesbury, writes in to discuss the lack of beat-em-ups on the N64, noting that while Capcom was happy to develop Resident Evil on a 512 MB IT cart, beat-em-ups games are missing. He suggests that the PlayStation wins out in fighting and strategy games, and expresses a desire for Tekken on the N64. He also questions Nintendo's decision not to release Super Smash Bros., and why they couldn't publish a Tekken 64 game if Namco developed it. A portrait of Heihachi Mishima from Tekken is featured. Key to your. This page continues the burning issue letters section. One reader praises the magazine but criticizes the quality of some N64 games, comparing them unfavorably to Sega Master System titles, and questioning the rating given to Buster Move 3, and wondering why the games are made for dumb people to buy PlayStations. They also express confusion over the 64-bit capabilities of the console, and the standard of some titles like Turok 2 and Zelda. Another reader expresses disappointment with South Park on the N64, noting that even PlayStation fans know that Zelda is the best game ever. A few short opinions are also included in the Can section, touching on subjects like a Zelda 64 on the Dolphin, and the reader's opinions. The next page features Not, a showcase of fan-submitted artwork. The Star Prize includes an official N64 pad, 2 Jolt packs with 1 MB memory, 2 extender cables, and 2 official N64 keychains, with runners-up receiving a Jolt pack and a keychain. The art includes depictions of characters from games like Zelda, Perfect Dark, Banjo-Kazooie, and GoldenEye. There's also a piece featuring Mario and the South Park gang with the words, "PlayStation is awful," and "Dreamcast has no chance." The address to send artwork is provided, encouraging readers to participate. D. This page showcases reader reviews, with a call to action encouraging readers to submit their own reviews to potentially win a prize. The first review is for Duke Nukem 64, with Nathan Spaniel from Margate giving it a 56% score. He describes the game as having terrible graphics and frustrating puzzles, although he admits it has some redeeming qualities like the variety of guns. The second review is for International Superstar Soccer 64, with David Aitken from Exeter awarding it a 92% score. He praises the game's depth, multiplayer mode, and overall entertainment value. The page also includes screenshots from both games and contact details for readers to send in their own reviews. The next page, titled Busted, presents cheat codes and tips for Star Wars Rogue Squadron on the Nintendo 64. It reveals how to play as a TIE interceptor by entering Tied Up as a password. There's also a hidden cheat to unlock a Naboo starfighter from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, by entering Halifax as a password, followed by a second password of your choosing. The Naboo starfighter is available on missions where the X-Wing is selectable. The page features in-game screenshots of the different craft. The next page features more busted cheat codes, this time for Command & Conquer and FIFA Soccer 99. For Command & Conquer, it explains how to adjust the battle screen size. For FIFA Soccer 99, it reveals how to find Ronaldo in the game. The page then moves on to cheat codes for A Bug's Life and Mystical Ninja 2 starring Gomon. A Bug's Life has a level select cheat. Mystical Ninja 2 has alternate costumes and a 4-player mode, offering tips on how to unlock them. Below this there's a full-page advert for Interesting Devices Limited, selling PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and Dreamcast consoles and accessories. There is mention of cheap consoles, controllers, memory cards and more, offering free gifts with orders over £50. The ad includes contact information and website addresses. This page is dedicated to cheat codes for Quake 2 on the Nintendo 64. It provides cheats for various gameplay modifications, including Twists level for deathmatch, another deathmatch level, different costume colors, a low-gravity multiplayer mode, and unlimited ammunition in multiplayer mode, which also allows higher jumps. There are screenshots showing gameplay and passwords for progressing through different levels of the game. Additionally, there are mini-kits for Golden Nugget 64 and K. Griffey Jr.'s Slugfest, and for Cruisin' USA, which explains how to get flashing lights with sirens. The next page unveils a collection of cheat codes for a variety of games. For Rampage 2, players can unlock all characters by entering the password NOT3T after accessing the cheat menu with the password BVGGY. There are also codes for World Driver Championship, including unlocking all cars and tracks, mirrored tracks, pink cars, and different car colors. WWF Warzone is also featured, with codes to call in other wrestlers for assistance during a match, though it warns that using these codes can lead to instant disqualification. The list of wrestlers includes Ahmed, Bret Hart, Bulldog, Farouk, Goldust, Kane, Shamrock, Mankind, Mosh, Owen Hart, Rock, Shawn Michaels, Steve Austin, Thrasher, Triple H and Undertaker. Finally, Load Runner 3D provides codes for level selection and bonus levels. The page concludes with an advertisement for Madeira Games, listing prices for various consoles, games, and accessories. This page is the front cover of Total N64 Magazine issue 31, featuring a complete guide to Quake 2. The cover showcases a menacing Strog enemy from the game, towering over the title, Quake 2. A brief description teases the game's plot. The Strogs are back to destroy everything on Earth. The next page provides a level guide for Quake 2, specifically covering Level 1, Strog Outpost, and Level 2, Central Complex. It includes mission objectives and walkthroughs, revealing the locations of secrets and explosive charges. Screenshots show the gameplay, and tips on navigating the levels and collecting items are provided. It's a classic strategy guide format to help players progress through the game. Gaddle. This page continues the Quake 2 level guide, now focusing on Level 3, Intelligence Center. It offers mission objectives, locate data disk, a detailed walkthrough with screenshots, and tips for navigating the level, avoiding enemies, and collecting items like armor and the grenade launcher. The guide also reveals the locations of 3 secrets within the level. Overall, it's a straightforward, helpful guide for players looking to conquer the level. The next page is a helpful guide for Quake 2 players, detailing military supplies like armor, stim packs, ammo packs, mega health, armor shards, silencers, environment suits, and super adrenaline. It also lists hazards in the game, such as slime, lava, and explosions. Plus, there is a blurb on difficulty levels, all that to help you navigate Strogos without turning into crispy critters. This page is all about the weapons in Quake 2. It gives you the lowdown on each one, from the basic blaster to the room-clearing BFG-10K. It details their power ratings, range, and some comments on how best to use them. The blaster is good for shooting enemies at a distance to save ammo. The shotgun is great for guards and flyers at close range. The machine gun is a solid all-rounder, but gets shaky at long range. The grenade launcher is best for flushing out enemies in stairways. The chain gun is powerful, but takes time to warm up. The rocket launcher requires respect to avoid self-inflicted damage. The super shotgun is for confined spaces, while the hyperblaster is a fast and explosive weapon. The BFG-10K is the mother of all weapons. The railgun is powerful but requires accuracy. This page features a walkthrough for Level 4, Communication Center in Quake 2. It's a step-by-step guide to help you upload the data disk to command. It covers Secret 1, which involves shooting a plaque on the ceiling after exiting the lift to reveal a hidden door with health. Secret 2 instructs you to shoot another plaque on the right side of the steps to find a nifty silencer. Secret 3 requires shutting down the compressor and diving into the slime to grab an environment suit and a mega health bonus. The next page provides a walkthrough for Level 5, Orbital Defense in Quake 2, with the main objective being to disable the gravity generator. It guides you through collecting pickups, dealing with a tank, and locating explosive charges. It also reveals 4 secrets. Secret 1 requires shooting a plaque on the ceiling after reaching the top of the stairs to reveal a hidden ledge. Secret 2 involves shooting a hole in a vent to receive a mega health power-up. Secret 3 has you jumping into the hole where a spaceship launches to find rocket ammo. Secret 4 is triggered by pressing a switch on a stack of boxes in the explosives room, opening a hidden door. This page provides a walkthrough for Level 6, Docking Station in Quake 2, focusing on destroying generators with explosive charges. The walkthrough guides you through enemy encounters, including the Icarus, and points out the locations of secrets and essential items like the rocket launcher. Secret 1 involves shooting a plaque to open a hatch and find adrenaline. Secret 2 requires finding a switch to reveal a hidden door with health and ammo. Secret 3 involves climbing boxes and shooting a plaque to uncover rocket ammo and health. The walkthrough concludes with instructions to return to the docking station after placing explosives, using the keyboard to open the hatch and jumping in. Bree. The next page provides a walkthrough for Level 7, Strog Freighter in Quake 2. It details mission objectives, like reprogramming navigation computers and redirecting to the Strog Moon. The walkthrough guides players through the initial room, upper lift, and through encounters with enemies, including gladiators. It explains how to disable security in a control room using 2 keyboards, collect a blue key, and push a button on a central pillar. The guide also covers obtaining the railgun. Secret 1 involves shooting a white panel on a central pillar to reveal a hyperblaster. Secret 2 details activating a switch and looking up for a plaque which opens a door for adrenaline. The walkthrough continues, explaining the use of lifts, enemies, and setting a new direction using 2 keyboards. This page features a walkthrough for Level 8, Cargo Bay in Quake 2, outlining the mission objectives to locate the pod area and escape to the Strog Moon. It guides the player through the level, detailing how to navigate rooms, use valves, ride lifts, and deal with enemies. There are also guides to finding 3 secrets. Secret 1 involves following a conveyor belt to collect armor. Secret 2 requires climbing boxes and finding a switch to open a door. Secret 3 involves shooting a plaque to reveal a secret door with a Quake multiplier inside. The next page features walkthroughs for Quake 2 Level 9, Zaxite Mines, and Level 10, Storage Facility. Level 9's mission objectives are to destabilize the mining area and locate the emergency exit. The guide describes starting atop a ledge, using grenades to clear enemies, finding a switch, and navigating through rooms with mutants. It also details how to find a secret by diving into a fountain after activating switches to collect armor and stimpaks. Level 10's mission is to find the teleporter to the planet's surface. The walkthrough advises ignoring the first door, following a corridor, using a switch, and shooting explosive boxes. It guides the player to a teleporter, through a crate room, and to a lift. It also describes how to find a secret weapon, the BFG-10K, by shooting an explosive crate behind some boxes. The guide also discusses a tough tank enemy and strategies for dealing with it, including using the BFG-10K or hiding in a nook. The next page continues the Quake 2 walkthrough with Level 11, Organic Storage. The mission objectives are to infiltrate the base security booth and unlock security doors. The guide explains how to navigate through rooms filled with boxes, killing enemies, and finding pickups like the Quake multiplier. It also details how to reach a secret area with super armor by shooting a panel on the wall to reveal a ladder, and another secret area to find armor and handy pickups by jumping across stacks of boxes. This page dives into Level 12, Processing Center of Quake 2. The mission objectives are to gain entrance to the geothermal station. The walkthrough details navigating conveyor belts, box-filled rooms, and using lifts, all while battling enemies. There are instructions on how to collect the yellow key and activate a drill to reveal the escape route. 2 secret areas are highlighted, one containing a mega health item accessed by shooting a plaque, and another with a Quake multiplier found by shooting a panel in the large outdoor area. The next page provides a walkthrough for Level 13, Geothermal Station in Quake 2. The mission is to activate the geothermal power systems. Instructions are given on how to navigate the lava-filled environment, including riding a platform up a lava river, jumping between pumps and cogs, and using a stirrer in a lava pit. 2 secret areas are detailed, one with a Quake multiplier hidden behind a wall, and another with armor located on small platforms near a cog. The guide also explains how to shut down the cooling system to extend a bridge for exiting the level. Warwick. This page provides a walkthrough for Quake 2 Level 14, Detention Center, with the mission objective to locate the entrance to Stroglab. The guide details how to collect pickups, navigate the level, and find 3 secrets. Secret 1 involves shooting a vent for an invisibility supply. Secret 2 requires shooting a plaque to open a door with rockets. Secret 3 directs players to dive down in a water section to find a Quake multiplier. The guide also covers dealing with crushers, lasers, and conveyor belts carrying dead bodies. The next page offers a walkthrough for Quake 2 Level 15, Research Lab. The mission is to disable the base energy core. The guide leads players through corridors, lava sections, and control rooms. It details how to obtain the red key and navigate lifts, also mentioning the gladiator enemy and the level's ending train. 3 secret areas are detailed. Secret 1 involves collecting armor, Secret 2 reveals adrenaline, and Secret 3 leads to a Quake multiplier. This page continues the Quake 2 walkthrough, now for level 16, Bio-Waste Treatment. The mission objective is to disable the locking mechanisms. The guide starts inside a train and advises collecting pickups, including a silencer. The walkthrough continues through corridors, warning of gladiators, and details a hatch opening to reveal enemies and armor. The guide then directs players to a pit of green water with a hole and valve, explaining how to activate the transfer pump and manipulate water levels to access switches and progress. 2 secrets are also revealed. Secret 1 involves diving into a small pool to find a Quake multiplier. Secret 2 instructs players to find adrenaline on top of a pipe. The walkthrough also details how to navigate corridors, take down enemies, collect armor, and eventually return to the maintenance doors. The next page moves on to Quake 2's level 17, Access Conduits, with the mission to locate the remaining lock to the core entrance. The guide starts with heading along a yellow corridor to a room with a valve, which you should pull to open the waste drain. Then it details the usual progression, including activating a switch, riding a platform, and dealing with enemies along the way. 3 secrets are revealed. Secret 1 involves shooting a plaque to reach adrenaline. Secret 2 reveals a Quake multiplier after using the valve. Secret 3 is all about finding a shot of adrenaline by shooting a small square after crossing a bridge. The guide concludes with crossing the bridge, finding a switch to open large doors, and heading towards the lift to visit the core. This page continues the walkthrough for Quake 2, now at level 18, Descent to Core, aiming to descend into the core and locate Strog Command. It starts with heading through the first door and taking out the Berserker, then dealing with Iron Maidens. There's a platform riding sequence and a section involving crossing large holes, advising players to look down for a door instead of riding the platform up. The walkthrough ends with navigating a room with a hole in the middle, dealing with enemies, and using a lift to finish the level. Secret 1 involves jumping down to a narrow ledge after a lift, then riding another lift to find a power amplifier. Secret 2 is about grabbing mega health by remaining on the last lift and jumping off towards a platform above. The next page details level 19 of Quake 2, Command Core. The mission objectives are to destroy the Guardians and shut down the core. It gives instructions on how to handle the arena, including dealing with giant tanks and flying tanks, suggesting the BFG-10K as a weapon of choice. A secret is revealed, involving triggering a lift, dropping down, and finding armor and a power shield, and instructions on how to clear the level. This page presents a stark and evocative image, a young girl clutching a dog, seemingly after a disaster. The text reads, "She has 2 things left to cling to. One is her," which suggests the other could be her pet. Below the main image are smaller photos, showing scenes of what appears to be the disaster aftermath, with people in distress, destroyed infrastructure such as a bridge, and general scenes of hardship. It's a powerful image designed to tug at the heartstrings. It feels like a charity advert, possibly from the late 90s, considering the style. The next page is indeed a full-page charity advertisement. The Central America Hurricane Appeal, coordinated by the Disasters Emergency Committee, is asking for donations to help those affected by the hurricane. The image of a child clinging to her pet dog after surviving the disaster really drives home the emotional plea. A number is given to call for credit card donations, and there is a form to fill out to donate with a check. It is implied the magazine donated this advert space to help raise funds to rebuild lives. This page is a high score chart for 2 classic Nintendo 64 games, 1080 Degree Snowboarding and GoldenEye 007, as well as Diddy Kong Racing. For 1080 Degree Snowboarding, we've got the top scores for various runs, including Crystal Lake, Golden Forest and Dragon Cave. I see some familiar names at the top, like Ross McInstray and Daniel Dunn, who obviously had a lot of time on their hands. GoldenEye 007 has a similar setup, this time with the best times for each level. Richard Dunn seems to be dominating here, but John Hunter and Joe Kelly also put in a good showing. Bond himself, Pierce Brosnan, is featured prominently. Finally, Diddy Kong Racing lists the best times for each race. Joe Perry is a name I recognize, along with Richard Dunn and Thomas Jeffries. A shot of Diddy Kong in his kart rounds out the page. Warrington Mame I recognize. The next page continues the high score theme, this time for Snowboard Kids and Mario Kart 64. It's all about bragging rights and proving you're the best racer or snowboarder out there, innit? For Snowboard Kids, there are top times for various levels like Rookie Mountain, Big Snowman, and Silver Mountain. Alan Dundas and Erwin Zevart are the names to beat. Porsa. Then there's Mario Kart 64, with leaderboards for every track. We have the fastest times for Luigi Raceway, Wario Stadium, Yoshi Valley, and more. Glenn McCourtan, Richard Dunn, and George Wythe seem to be the top contenders here. There is also artwork of the Snowboard Kids and Mario himself on his kart. This page features even more high scores, this time showcasing F1 Grand Prix, Wipeout 64, and Rally 99. F1 Grand Prix has the best times for various circuits, including Britain, Brazil and Italy, with Ben Yarwood and Glenn McCourtan battling for the top spot. Wipeout 64 displays scores for tracks like Hughes Bridge and Machion 2, with Rick Jones and Paul Stocks dominating the leaderboards. Finally, Rally 99 shows stage times for locations around the globe, such as Indonesia, Safari, and New Zealand. Andrew Stevens seems to be the king of the rally tracks. There are also images of a FIV1 car, a Wipeout ship, and rally cars. The next page is a celebration of high scores. The IS-98 league table is topped by Nawab Menali, who is this month's top scorer with a 400 record. Other top players include Sam Elliott, Saul Gatstone, and Gary Stepton. F0X gets some love too, with the best times for Jack, King, Queen and Joker Cups, all dominated by Richard Dunn. Lilac Wars also features, showing high scores for various sectors and areas, with Andrew Robson leading in many categories, including Meteo and Sector X, while Greg Ignatenko dominates Area 6. Finally, there's a star prize shout-out to Nawab Menali for his skills on IS-98, with runners-up Chris Temple, Aaron Dixon and Darren Simpson. The magazine teases upcoming additions to the high score lists, including Star Wars, Episode 1 Racer. This page is Total N64's guide to N64 games. The scores on the doors section explains the magazine's review scale, from 90,100% essential, down to 040%, only masochists need apply. The page features mini-reviews for a variety of N64 titles, including 1080 Degrees Snowboarding 90%, Aero Fighters Assault 55%, Aero Gauge 51%, Airboarder 64 72%, All-Star Baseball 99 82%, All-Star Baseball 93%, All-Star Baseball 2000 89%, All-Star Tennis 93%, Biofreaks 78%, Blades of Steel 77%, and A Bug's Life 70%. The reviewers dish out their opinions, calling Aero Gauge a loser's version of Wipeout 64, and Blastcore a damn fine title from Rare. The next page continues with mini-reviews of N64 games. Body Harvest gets a whopping 90%, described as an action-packed blaster. Buck Bumble scores 85%, but is let down by graphics. California Speed is at 41%, and Chameleon Twist a measly 40%. Bomberman 64 gets 65%, with the reviewer suggesting Hudson failed to make him a platform hero. Bomberman Hero fares slightly better at 71%. Bottom of the Ninth gets 75%, with the designer quoted as saying, "American sports are awful." The Buster Move series gets a thrashing, from 61% to a dire 49%. For 99, Castlevania earns an 87%, praised for its unique charm. Charlie Blast's Territory gets 74%, described as a Bomberman-esque puzzler. Chopper Attack is a 79%, and Clayfighter 63 1/3 gets a shocking 28%. Cruisin' USA limps in with 51%. A original classics segment focuses on Shadows of the Empire, acknowledging its initial bad reviews but pointing out the fun of taking down a tats, and the overall message to buy cheap second-hand. Please provide the text you would like me to summarize. Hanayin kuto, tol modol dem halibin. This N64 game review page highlights various titles: Forsaken, 91%, F0X, 90%, and GoldenEye, 95%, called possibly the greatest game ever, stand out as high scoring. Conversely, Hexen, 64, 53%, receives a poor review. Other games, like GASP, 64%, Gex, 64, 65%, and Holy Magic Century, 65%, receive mixed reviews. Glover, 82%, Iggy's Wrecking Balls, 80%, and IS-98, 93%, garner positive feedback, while Killer Instinct Gold, 72%, and King of Pro Baseball, 79%, receive less enthusiastic reviews. The page also includes a Choice Cuts section focusing on Diddy Kong Racing. Please provide the text you would like me to summarize. Fajradoha. This page is a review spread from Total N64 magazine, featuring a selection of N64 games. The page starts with a banner of Best Puzzlers, showcasing Silicon Valley, Weetrix, Lode Runner, Charlie Blasts, and Tetrisphere. The main reviews include Mystical Ninja 64, NBA Courtside, NFL Blitz, Mystical Ninja 2 Gomon, NBA Hangtime, NFL Quarterback Club 98, NBA in the Zone 99, NBA Jam 99, NFL Quarterback Club 99, NHL 99, Nagano Winter Olympics, NBA Live 99, NHL Breakaway 98, NASCAR 99, NBA Pro 98 and NHL Breakaway 99. The reviews give each game a percentage score, along with details like publisher, developer, price, and genre. Some include a short blurb about the game. The reviewer seems unimpressed with the NBA games, stating, "I really wish that the NBA would do time, and leave us alone, go away." And, "Yet another average basketball game. Shock! Horror! What a surprise!" Lastly, at the bottom is a competition to win Star Wars Episode I soundtracks, asking which character becomes Emperor Palpatine. The answer options are C-3PO, Jar Jar Binks, and Senator Palpatine. The next page displays a range of N64 games and a discount voucher. The games featured are Nightmare Creatures, Off-Road Challenge, Olympic Hockey, Penny Racers, Pilot Wings 64, Pokémon Snap, Premier Manager 64, Quake, Quake 2, Racing Simulation, MGP, Rakuga Kids, Rampage 2, Universal Tour, Rampage, World Tour and Robotron 64. Each game review includes a percentage score, details of the publisher, developer, price, genre, save options, Rumble and expansion pack compatibility, and the number of players. The reviews offer brief opinions on each game. The page also includes a voucher for £5 off a Wild Things Mirage Pad, bringing the price down to £12.99. The voucher includes details on how to order, available colors, and payment methods. This page showcases a selection of N64 games, offering a mix of reviews and a WWF Attitude competition. First up, we have a WWF Attitude giveaway, posing the question, who is the WWF's figurehead? With a few answer options listed. Then the reviews start, covering a range of titles with percentage scores. Snowboard Kids 2 gets an 87%, South Park scores 69%, Starshot receives 80%, Star Wars Rogue Squadron receives 92%, Silicon Valley receives 90%, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer gets a high 95%, Super Bowling receives 55%, Rush 2 gets 77%, San Francisco Rush gets 76%, SC.ARS gets 84%, Shadowgate 64 receives 60%, Shadows of the Empire 80%, Smash Brothers receive 89%, and finally Snowboard Kids receives 80%. Each review includes details like publisher, developer, price, genre, and player options. This page is a spread of reviews and music, starting with the best multiplayer games, GoldenEye and Quake 2, and then moving on to N64 titles. First up is Super Mario 64 with a 95% score, praised as a pinnacle of video game design, followed by Tetrisphere at 79%, described as interesting but not genre-defining. Next, Top Gear Overdrive gets an 85%, called similar to Beetle Adventure Racing but not as good. Top Gear Rally receives an 83%, noted for its gameplay but lacking levels. The On the Decks section features music reviews, beginning with John Williams' music from Star Wars The Phantom Menace soundtrack, recommended for Star Wars fans. Feeder's Yesterday Went Too Soon album is also reviewed, lauded for its catchy and quirky pop numbers. The various artists' This Is Sci-Fi album is featured, aimed at sci-fi enthusiasts. More N64 reviews follow, starting with Triple Play 2000 at 79%, a decent baseball sim. Tsunami gets 81%, a Puyo Puyo style puzzler. Turok, Dinosaur Hunter scores 83%, a top-notch shooter. Turok 2, Seeds of Evil achieves 92%, considered a must-have title. Twisted Edge, Snowboarding gets a 65%. Rally 99 edition is rated at 86%. Vigilante 8 receives 85%, a car-based shooter. Virtual Chess rounds out the reviews, with 65%, advising readers to get a real chessboard and a friend. This page is dedicated to Total Recall interaction and showcases a variety of N64 game reviews, accompanied by a competition to win Shadowman. The games reviewed are Warrington May Pool, 64-84%, Warrington May Boris, Warrington May Boris, Warrington May Boris, Your Game Recall e-competition, and also has May Boris, Issy Story, 85%, Warrington May Boris, Issy Story, 84 Borot, Warrington May Boris, Issy Story, Wage ECC Story, 86%, WCW Nitro 39%, WCW vs NWO World Tour 86%, WCW vs NW. The reviews offer brief summaries of each game's pros and cons, with scores assigned accordingly. Zelda, Ocarina of Time is highlighted as an unmissable adventure, while WCW Nitro is described as an extremely poor follow-up. The page also features a competition to win Shadowman, describing it as a game that plays like Zelda. Readers are asked to answer a question about how Shadowman travels between live side and dead side to enter the competition. The next page teases upcoming content in next month's issue of Total N64 magazine, with a focus on Destruction Derby 64 as a featured game. There's also a promotion for a top-secret gift. Reviews are highlighted for Rayman 2, with the reviewer claiming that it rivals Mario 64, Hybrid Heaven, and Carmageddon 64, with its blood, guts, and zombie squashing action. The magazine issue is slated to be on sale September 30th, 1999. This page is the cover of the Game Boy Color magazine, issue 6. The main game featured is Ants, based on the animated movie. The cover also shows a purple Game Boy Color console, and includes sections for news, reviews, and tips related to Game Boy Color games. Readers have a chance to win one of 15 copies of the Ants game. There's also a highlighted feature on Infogrames GBC games. The issue number is 31, and the page number for this section of Total N64 is 103. This page is from Boyzone News in Total N64, issue 31. John, the editor, bids farewell, promising that Boyzone will continue to deliver pocket fiddlers full of info. The news includes articles on the Battle of Capcom 1942 for Game Boy, a revisit of the classic arcade shooter, promising 32 levels. There's also news on Karma Game Boy, bringing Carmageddon to the Game Boy Color, and a piece on a hybrid handheld, a limited edition Tommy Hilfiger Game Boy Color. The next page of Boyzone News features a trio of Game Boy Color titles. First up is Throttle This Maniac, Motocross Maniacs 2, a Konami sequel to Motocross Madness, drawing inspiration from Excitebike. It promises 10 courses, obstacle avoidance, and nitro boosts, with ghost mode and track design options. Next is Nice One Son, NHL 2000, an esports hockey sim for the Game Boy Color. Based on the Mega Drive design, it boasts 6 game modes, 45 teams and a password option, but lacks a 2-player mode. Finally, there's Gallagher and Kensit, Beauty and the Beast, a board game adventure, a GBC title, based on the Disney film that's been sneaked into the picture somewhat unnoticed. It's an electronic board game simulation for 1 to 4 players, with dice rolling, sub-games, and Beauty and the Beast trivia. This page, under the header Café au lait, an Infogrames feature, leads with the bold statement that Infogrames has been making waves, acquiring companies like Gremlin and Accolade. Now they're setting their sights on the Game Boy Color market, which I think is a rather tasty goal. Warrant OA. We get a sneak peek at some upcoming Game Boy Color titles, including Ants, a small screen adaptation of the blockbuster movie. First up is Mission Impossible, making its way to the GBC. It seems like a daunting task, but Infogrames is giving it a go. It's got 12 missions, and is based on the movie, so expect some impossible scenarios. Next we have Worms Armageddon, coming to the Game Boy Color. That's right, the Wiggly Worms are making their mark on the GBC. Expect the same turn-based action, the destruction of your opponents, and some odd weapons. It should offer entertaining handheld action for everyone. So, if you're a Worms fan, keep your eyes peeled around November. The next page features upcoming Game Boy Color titles from Infogrames. The first game featured is the Looney Tunes game, coming to the Game Boy Color, featuring Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny, Tweety, Porky, Roadrunner, and Wile E. Coyote. Each character has unique movements and animation specific to their Toontown behavior. The page features a competition to win one of 15 games, including Battleships, Three Lions and Silicon Valley. To enter, readers have to answer the question, lions are part of which category of animal, and choose their preferred game. Finally, Ronaldo v Soccer is briefly touched upon for the Game Boy Color, coming towards the end of November. This page is a review of the Game Boy Color game Ants, based on the movie of the same name. The reviewer notes that the Game Boy Color has had its fair share of movie-time games, often with limited success. Ants is described as a side-scrolling platform adventure, where you play as Z, an ant who must rescue Princess Bala. It features a whopping 19 levels. The reviewer quips that, life as a six-legged bug is never an easy task in the pesticidal 90s, highlighting the outrageous hazards and obstacles. They note that the game plays slightly better than Disney's A Bug's Life game. The page includes screenshots of the game in action, including one where the ant is scaling a wall with the caption, "Surely ants just climb up vertical walls. They don't have to worry about finding hand little vines to shimmy up." The game receives a Boyzone rating of 4 out of 5. The reviewer says that A Bug's Life was a better film, but enthusiast is the better game. The next page features 3 game reviews for the Game Boy Color. First up is F1 World Grand Prix, a racing game. The reviewer notes that while the N64 version was great, this one doesn't quite live up to expectations. The action is sluggish, and the music is horrendous, earning it a Boyzone rating of 2 out of 5. Next, Spy vs. Spy is reviewed, a game where you play as one of 2 spies, setting traps for each other. The reviewer enjoys the comedic incidents and the overall gameplay, giving it a Boyzone rating of 4 out of 5. Finally, Chessmaster is reviewed. The reviewer suggests this game is for people who don't have friends, and that if you want to play chess you might as well buy the real thing, and gives it a Boyzone rating of 2 out of 5. This page has 2 reviews for the Game Boy Color. First, there's R-Type DX, a shoot-'em-up. The reviewer, Neil, says it's a stalwart of the genre, just as frustratingly addictive and colorful as ever. He recommends making sure someone tells you when to get off the bus or train if you play it on the go, and gives it a Boyzone rating of 5 out of 5, calling it a superb conversion. Below that is Harvest Moon, a farming simulator. The reviewer, Lee, finds the game totally bonkers, highlighting that you just wake up, have breakfast, have dinner, and go to bed with no aliens to shoot or cars to race. The reviewer gives it a Boyzone rating of 4 out of 5, noting it as thoroughly addictive. This page features reviews for 2 more Game Boy Color games. First up is Holy Magic Century from Virgin Interactive, which Neil reckons is a bit of a Pengu rehash. He suggests there are more imaginative games out there, giving it a Boyzone rating of 3 out of 5. It seems like it's playable, but nothing groundbreaking. The next review is for Pokemon Pinball, also getting a Boyzone rating of 3 out of 5. According to Neil, pinball games generally suck, but this one's alright. He concedes if you like pinball and Pokemon you might get sucked in. The right side of the page features an advert for Dream Interactive, selling import games and consoles. There are listed prices for Game Boy Color hardware and several Pokemon titles, alongside a Nintendo 64 section with various hardware bits and pieces. Finally, an advert for pre-ordering the Dreamcast with a free t-shirt is displayed. The next page is a Boyzone Handy Hints section, serving up cheat codes and tips for N64 and Game Boy games. First, there's Turok 2, with codes for infinite lives, invincibility, all weapons, bird mode, level passwords and a level selector. Then, there's Men in Black, with level passwords, a flying tip, a stage skip, and the end of game code. Finally, Game & Watch Gallery 2 on the Game Boy gets some love, with hints on opening the museum, unlocking the hidden ball game, unlocking the sound station, and resetting the cartridge memory, along with a barrel trick. The next page is a full-page advert for Simply Games, boasting low prices and free worldwide delivery. The ad features the tagline, "Shoot the baddie, destroy the universe, get the girl, keep the change." N64 games like Mario Party, Revolt, Hot Wheels Turbo Racing, Jet Force Gemini, and South Park Rally are advertised, with Perfect Dark getting its own shout-out. There's also an offer to pre-order a Dreamcast console, with a free game. This page is Picture House, featuring Banjo-Kazooie. It's a breakdown of the opening cutscenes of the game, presented as a film reel. We see the intro of Gruntilda stirring her cauldron, then spotting Tootie, Banjo's sister, as the prettiest girl, leading to Tootie's abduction. The scenes showcase Kazooie's eagerness for adventure, and Banjo's rude awakening to save the day. This page is a full-page advert for the Special Reserve Discount Club. Join for £6.99 and get magazines, cheats, competitions and a free gift. They offer various Nintendo 64 deals, controllers, games, and accessories, and promote their "We're all nuts about something" Friola online services. The next page is a full-page advertisement for the Explorer 64 cheat cartridge. It boasts that it's the ultimate cheat cartridge for the Nintendo 64, preloaded with over 100 cheats for the latest games. The advert highlights features such as the unique keycode system, upgradability, and storage for up to 10,000 codes, with common features like infinite ammo, unlimited lives, extra weapons, maximum health, and extra vehicles. It boldly declares, "Blow your games wide open," and claims it was the #1 best-selling cheat cartridge in the UK in 1998.